Okay, so yeah, welcome to this session. So this month is dedicated to quieter practices, but I've been doing a little bit of helping downstairs. So I'm upstairs now. So you'll all recognize this room as where you did your teacher training, which is sort of at the moment half lounge, half shrine room. And we're doing this building work downstairs. So I just thought it'd be good to do something slow, but also strengthening for the lower back, because, we all suffer from low back issues from time to time. This is like a classic Bodhi yoga sequence. It's actually one of Salata's sequences. I think it's a really good one for the lower back. So we'll just gently work into it. There's just one thing that's worth bearing in mind is what's called the Mula Bandha inhale. So as you exhale, the idea is to gently tone the lower belly, and as you inhale, you draw the breath up the inside of your spine towards the upper body. So there's a sense of just gently grounding the lower part of the body and lengthening through the upper part of the body. So we'll get a feel for that. So we're going to start lying down, and yeah, we don't really need any equipment for this practice, which is another great thing. But I'd like you to bring your hands onto your lower belly. So the palm is resting on the hip bone, and the fingers rest across the lower abdominal area, sort of transverse abdominals. And this is the area that we're going to try to activate with the exhales. Okay, so you can close your eyes and just take a moment to center in on your body, on the mat, being aware that you're moving into an asana practice. So we're going to be doing a remedial yoga practice. So the remedial yoga is characterized by three aspects. This one is mobilizing. So it's like getting movement back into the body. Second is strengthening. So there's a little bit of toning work. And then thirdly are these long yin style stretches. So we'll do those at the end. Okay. I'd like you to get in contact with the breath as well. So we could slightly deepen, in fact, the exhalations gradually. Breathing in freely. And as you deepen your exhales, see if you can begin to ground your exhale deeper into the abdominal area with a view to toning, creating a little bit of tone across the lower belly. So it feels like your lower belly pulls down towards the floor or towards the spine. There's a sense of the lower belly toning and flattening as you exhale. And then as you inhale, you maintain that tone and draw the breath up along the anterior face of the spine as much as is possible. So it's like you're gently filling out your side ribs and your upper body. But this is more gentle than the three-part breath. Okay, so it's a more mild adjustment to the breath or manipulation of the breath. And just get a feel for that. So I'll bring your awareness back into the Mula Bandha inhale from time to time as we move through the practice. It's quite natural that you'll forget about it and drop into a more habitual pattern of breathing. But I'll bring your awareness to it. So we're now going to float the right knee towards us and interlace the fingers over the top of the right shin. As you exhale, you gently pull the knee down. As you inhale, you float the knee away. Very simple. Exhale. Float the knee towards you. Inhale. Float the knee away. If you want to bring a little bit of weight into the front of the shin, that's fine. So there's a gentle pull of the leg towards you. Inhale, floating away. We'll do 5 or 8 cycles on this side. Staying in contact with the breath. Next time we inhale, float the foot to the floor, switch sides. And bring your left knee down towards you as you exhale. Inhale, floating it away. So you may need to bring the knee slightly to one side to help if with a little bit more mobility there, if your belly is kind of in the way, if you like. It might feel more comfortable to take the knee slightly out to the side. So exhale, we bring the knee down. Inhale, we float away. And then next, inhale, float both feet to the floor, and then bring one hand onto each knee for a classic Apanasana. So as you exhale, floating the knees towards you. Inhale, floating away. And here, feeling the rocking of the pelvis. As you exhale, we're flattening the spine, the lower spine towards the floor. As we inhale, floating the knees, and you're taking weight towards the tailbone. Keeping your elbows fairly close to your body. Exhale, again, 5 or 8 cycles. Exhale, floating in, inhale, floating away. So these are very much in the category of mobilization. So bringing a little bit of movement into the lower back, into hip area and lower back area. Okay, floating the feet towards the floor. Extend the legs along the floor. And I want you to bring both hands around the back of the head, interlacing the hands around the back of the head. So you're cradling your head in your hands. And this is a hip balance. So as you exhale, you stretch out your right leg and look down the body towards your foot. You don't need to lift very high. And as you inhale, we float back. Let me just move more fully onto the camera. And then exhale the other side, floating your foot up, looking down towards your foot. Inhale. Release down. There's a sense of lengthening through the mid-body. Exhale. Floating your foot. I'm bringing the heel to about toe height. So you're just lifting the length of your foot as you exhale, and really emphasize projecting down through the legs. So you're creating a sense of stability through the core of the body, particularly across the pelvis and across the abdominal area. We can emphasize Mula Bandha on the exhale, and inhale, drawing the breath up into the upper body. Again, we'll do 5 or 8 cycles. Exhale, lengthening down the body into the foot and raising the leg. Keeping the elbows now wide and broad across the shoulder blades. This should feel quietly toning and strengthening for the core of the body. Exhale, floating your leg, emphasizing lengthening. I'm not counting here, so I'm just going to the point where it feels like I've done enough. So we never really want to be working to the point of exhaustion in a yoga pose, okay? In fact, from as far as I can see, it's not a good practice in other systems of exercise as well. I've just been exploring some lifting light weights, and it's recommended not to be going to exhaustion with that kind of exercise. Okay, so come back to stillness. You can rest there for a moment, just release your hands from behind the head. And we're going to roll to one side and come into all fours, okay? Great. And very simple, all fours, cat-cow, which we're going to develop. We've done this many a time. So as you exhale, you're drawing the belly in, rolling the pelvis back. And as you inhale, try and feel that you're drawing the breath on the inside edge of the spine, anterior face of the spine looking forwards. Compress gently the feet towards the floor. Exhale, curling into the center line, sense of drawing the belly in. Inhaling, lengthening from the pubic bones through the chest, through to the throat, gaze forwards. And repeat 5 to 8 cycles. I can gently press my hands down, taking weight towards the outer hand. So that'll be easier on the wrist joint. And exhale, curling into the center, gently pressing through the outer edge of the hands. Press the shins down. Again, a mobilizing movement, although it's beginning to move into some strengthening and turning. As we exhale, we're drawing the belly gently up towards the spine or in. And then we're going to go directly into tiger stretch. As you inhale, reach out through one hand, one leg, exhale back to all fours, and then inhale the opposite side. Exhale back to all fours and just gently alternate between the two sides, really emphasizing axial lengthening. So it may be helpful here to look down. So you're lengthening through the spine, the axis. As you exhale, we drop to all fours. And as you inhale, a sense of lengthening through the spine and out to the periphery. So this resembles a catwalk. You can keep your knees slightly separate, which will be more challenging to keep the pelvis level. A bit more challenging in terms of core stability. But if you want an easier balance, you could bring your knees together, okay? So I'm suggesting you keep your knees in line with the hips. And again, inhale, reaching out. Exhale, all fours. One more. Inhale, reaching out. Exhale, all fours. And then we're going to drop back for a moment into child's pose, resting down. And from here, we're going to come into this famous balasana with a sense of flexion. So I think we did this. I remember doing this just a few weeks ago. So this is coming up to all fours. And then separating the feet again, knees about hip width. And then what we really want to do is get a sense of pivoting the pelvis back. So this is really important. You're pivoting your pelvis back and you push through the hands towards your sitting bones and move back. And just before you touch down, you swing forwards again. To all fours, you can bring your pelvis slightly forwards if you like. And then exhale, pivot the pelvis back. So you really want to be thinking about retroverting the pelvis. You can think about Mula Bandha, engaging Mula Bandha, slurring back, and then inhale, swing forward. So the intention here is to lengthen the structures that run off the rib cage into the pelvis. Should feel a stretch through the QL, quadratus lumbarum, is the muscle that runs off the lower ribs onto the top of the pelvis. Emphasizing really this retroversion of the pelvis. And so it's almost like pulling down. So you're keeping the arms active. Again, getting into a smooth action there with the breath. Go one more. Exhale, rocking the pelvis back firmly, stretching back, and then release that all the way down to the floor. Completely let go there. You should feel particularly been stretching the structures over the lower back area into the top of the pelvis. Okay, then from here, we're going to bring the hands onto the sacrum. Backs of the hands onto the sacrum. I'm not sure how Sue's going to get on with this with the knees. So as you inhale, you swing the arms out and you can bring the arms into the cactus position, looking slightly up. And as you exhale, you swing back down, bringing the hands to the back of the pelvis. Again, this is a mobilizing movement. Inhale, swinging the arms out and into a broad chest position, cactus position. As you exhale, swing back down. Again, 5 or 8 cycles. Inhaling into Vajrasana, as it's called, this movement. Exhaling, connecting with Mula Bandha as you inhale. Try and draw the breath up through the body as you lengthen up into the chest, opening the chest. Exhale, releasing down. One more, inhaling. Exhaling and release down into child's pose. I'd like you to rest there into child's pose. Release your hands to the floor, completely surrendering, releasing for a few moments. So one of the ideas with this practice is a sense of building up a sense of intensity with a continuous flow. Even though it's quite gentle, we're going for a sort of intense continuousness. We can say that. Continuity. Okay, from there, on an inhale, come to all fours and then drop down onto the front of the belly, onto the front of the body, belly down. And we could say the heart of this practice are the Shalabhasanas. So I want you to lengthen out each of your legs. So Shalabhasana is the locust. This is a really important posture for strengthening your lower back area. This is a version called Vimasana. So we bring the feet together, bring the hands slightly forward of your elbows, elbows tucking in. And as you inhale, you lift and separate the legs wide, and then exhale, bring the feet back in and drop down. It's very simple, lifting and separating the legs. This activates the muscles across the sacrum. Inhale, lifting and opening, exhale, drawing down. It's a surprisingly strong movement. You can gently press the pubic bone down, opening out on the inhale, exhale, back, elbows tucked in. Again, 5 or 8 cycles there. Keeping the elbows tucked in as you inhale, lengthening down through the legs, lengthening through the front of the body, feeling the buttocks engage, the muscles around the sacrum engage, particularly the gluteus maximus, you're going to feel working there. The buttock muscles, pressing gently the pubic bone down, then release to stillness, coming into the front of your body, resting there. Separate your feet about hip width, and then we'll go straight into the second version. So as you inhale, you lift just one leg and the chest and the gaze. Elbows tucked in, length through the axis. Exhale, release back down. And switch. Pubic bone down, lengthen through the front of the body, lift the leg and release down. So you alternate between 2 sides. Again, you can do 5 cycles or upwards, but not exhausting. Okay, so just gently working your body, keeping the elbows tucked in. Gently pressing the hands down, elbows in, gently grounding the pubic bone. And release. Coming into stillness. Stay on the front of the body. We're going to move into a slightly more intense version where we bend the leg and then lift the knee on one side. So as you Exhale, you bend the leg and lift the foot and knee and the head as you inhale, release back down. Okay, if you want to change the breath, that's fine. So if you want to inhale up, that's fine. But there's a benefit to exhaling and lifting because you're establishing Mula Bandha on the exhale. Inhale, you're lengthening through the body. So we bend the knee, push the foot up towards the ceiling, lift the knee and the foot and the chest, and exhale, going up, inhale down. Keep breathing, so not getting out of breath. Just lifting up towards the floating ribs. No need to move higher. Again, 5 to 8 cycles. Elbows tucking in, gently grounding the palms, grounding the pubic bone, and release to stillness. This time we'll move back into child's pose. If you'd like to take a variation of child's pose where we thread the arms through the legs, which can feel quite restful for the upper arms. If sitting in child's pose or being in child's pose is not at all restful, then find a different position. You could move, in fact, onto the back of the body. That's easier. So from there, on an inhale, we float up and move to the back of the body. And we're going to do a little bit of work in terms of toning the abdominal area. It's a very simple movement to begin with. So I'd like to extend your arms above the head, interlace the fingers and broader across the upper back and across the elbows. So you're nice and broad across the upper back, lengthening down through the body. We're going to float the shins parallel to the floor. So your feet are touching, but your knees are slightly separated. Okay. So your knees are touching. Sorry, your feet are touching, but your knees are separated. And as you exhale, you pick up down the center line and look through the legs, drawing the belly down. As you inhale, sense of drawing the breath towards the upper body. As you exhale, drawing the belly down, abdominal area down, grounding the breath, drawing up, and inhale, release back. So try and work from the breath. Just bring the microphone a bit closer. Working from the breath. So as you exhale, there's a sense of curling up. The elbows can float in, and as you inhale, taking the elbows wide, float back down. Stay connected with the breaths as we exhale. There's a sense of using the breath to pull up through the center line. Inhale, releasing down. The elbows go wide. And just in your own time, with your own effort. This is very, in a way, it's quite a deep work, challenging work for the abdominal area, the so-called core of the body. So we're working the inner front body all the way through from the anterior face of the spine, forwards as we curl up. And then release back to the floor. Let your feet drop to the floor for a moment. Breathe freely, resting. Just let the body, what I find with that movement is it can draw a lot of energy and attention down into the belly. It can also be quite calming practice if it's done slowly with the breath. So moving at the velocity of the breath. Let's just do a variation of this. So float the feet back up again, feet together, knees separate. So we're going to do a movement where we take one elbow crossways. So as you exhale, it's almost like you're taking your elbow across to the opposite knee. It doesn't need to touch. Inhale, you go back, all the way back to the floor, down the center line. And then exhale, cross to the opposite side. And we can think about the rib cage rotating slightly towards the opposite leg. As I exhale, keeping the elbows wide, head supported, shins more or less parallel to the floor, knees separate, feet together. Again, this is working down through the core of the body. You're going to have a little bit of warming and shaking for sure as you work down through the sort of abdominal group of muscles, rectus abdominalis, and so on. So I'm coming up on the exhale and I'm releasing down on the inhale. So come back to the floor, release the hands now from the back of the head, come into semi-supine, closing your eyes and absorbing that experience, that practice. Noticing how it affects your body. Again, as I said, for me, it really draws the attention down into the center of the body, the belly area, abdominal area, connected with the breath. And then we're going to roll to one side and come up to a sitting position. So this could be considered quite an intense position, actually, this next pose. So I'd like to drop your right knee down, if you can, towards the floor, and then we bring the left leg towards us, okay? So if that's tricky for Sue, what you could do is just extend your right leg out and have your left knee like that. That's another way of doing that. And then we're going to bring the forearms around the back of the thigh, okay? So the forearms come around the back of the thigh, and you gently rock back and lift the left foot off the floor. So just floating there, and you gently extend through the left leg, possibly towards a straight leg. It's probably unlikely, but at least bring the left shin parallel to the floor. And there's a sense of really lifting up through the spine, through the axis. Really think about axial lengthening, reaching through your left foot, breathing there. So you don't need to fully straighten the left leg. You can do if you've got the flexibility there, but it's more interesting just to have a sense of lengthening up. So we're really emphasizing long spine. So if you can't fold your right leg, have it straight. If you can fold the right leg, that's fine as well. And then release down. Come back up to an upright position. Just rest the hands on the forearms on the shin. And this time, the same movement. This time, we're going to lead the forearms forwards of the shin, rock back. It's going to be a bit more intense, okay? Just a warning. And then extend through the leg and extend your arms parallel to the left shin. Breathe there. So try and really lift the chest, lift the chest, lift the chest. Long spine. Again, we're working down through the nucleus of the body, through the core, and then release. And switch sides. So we're going to fold your left foot down. Bring your right foot in towards you, right knee up. If that doesn't feel okay on the knee, so then do extend your left leg out. You can the first version is to bring the forearms behind the thigh. And then you gently rock back, but really emphasizing lengthening through the spine. So it's important not to collapse down, really trying to avoid collapsing down, trying to lift up through the spine, lift the chest, and you bring your right shin parallel to the floor, taking the gaze towards the horizon. It's a version of Navasana, boat pose. It's quite a powerful pose. Works very strongly on the hip flexors, which often can be quite tight. So breathing there. emphasizing axial lengthening. So maybe even helpful to look upwards and encourage your spine to lengthen up and then release. Release down. And bring your forearms to forwards of your shin. This is more challenging. So we float back, lift the foot off the floor so that the foot's really light. And then really emphasize lengthening through the spine, maybe take the gaze slightly up, and then we extend the arms and the leg. So the right shin parallel to the floor. Keep breathing. Probably your breath is going to be shorter and sweeter, as it were. Shorter and less deep. Breathing there. Noticing the difference between the two sides of the body. My forearms, arms parallel to the shin, parallel to the floor, and then I release down, release down. Okay, I want you to bring both feet forwards and just allow yourself to rest into your thighs. You let yourself rest forward, softening, feeling your way into your back, allowing the back of the body to become quiet. And from there, we're going to gently come back towards the floor, back to belly onto the floor. So just taking your time to move around there and bring the belly down. Okay. So again, we're coming into a second sequence now of Shalabhasana, the locust position. And so you want to emphasize lengthening the legs back one at a time. Tops of the feet on the floor, and then we're going to interlace the fingers around the back of the body and extend the arms away from us. You can rest the thumbs onto the buttocks, head centered. This is a more full expression of Shalabhasana. And we'll do this a couple of times. As you exhale, you ground the pubic bone, lift the thighs, lift the chest, and breathe. Inhaling, exhaling, probably quite shallow breaths. Lift and hold. You can rest the thumbs onto the buttocks, or you can lift the arms away from the body. You decide. So you're going to lift the arms away from the body if you want to work more into the shoulders, or rest the thumbs down, have the shoulder area quieter, and then release down. Okay, so we'll do this 2 or 3 times. Release down. So this is lifting and holding. Again, this is very much strengthening or toning work. So we're engaging the whole muscular, posterior muscular chain. So from the back of the head, through the neck, upper back, lower back, back to the thighs. So when you're ready, coming up on an exhalation, pressing the pubic bone gently down, lifting the arms away from you. Gaze slightly forward, slightly down, legs engaged. Breathing there. And release. Release there, release the arms. You can do one more if you're feeling energetic. You can do one more. Softening there if you're going to just rest. Letting go, staying connected with the breath. You could rest the head to one side. Okay, and then from there, centering the head again. This time we're going to interlace the fingers across the back of the head. So this is a slightly more intense version. And separate your feet a little bit wider. As you inhale, you lift the elbows, lift the feet, lift the chest away from the floor, breathe there. And just see how you get on with this version. Okay, so it's very intense on the upper back. You've got the resistance of the hands against the back of the head, and then release down. Again, 2 or 3 cycles. Release down. When you're ready, once again, moving into that Position for 3 or 4 breaths. Exhale, coming up. See if you can stay connected with the Mula Bandha. Inhale, so exhale, grounding the breath in the abdominal area. Inhale, lengthening through the body. And release. From there, we're going to move back into child's pose for a moment. Just rest back. Let yourself come into stillness and ease. As we come into the last 2 moves, which are more of a strengthening nature. So come back from child's pose, we move back into all fours and down onto the belly once again. So this is the famous scorpion pose, okay? So there's different ways of doing this. You'll probably remember doing this with Sadhata at some point. So the first version we're going to bring, I quite like to make little fists and just rest them underneath the hip bones, okay? The head centered, you can look forward. And the movement is to exhale and lift just one leg. So I'm lifting one leg away from the floor. And then inhale, release down. And you can use the hands underneath the hip bones to just have a sense of lifting the thigh away from the floor, okay? So let's try that 3 or 4 times on each side. Exhale, lift. Hold the leg there. Breathing. Lifting your leg away from the floor. The other foot grounded. And inhale, release down. So again, we're stretching through the hip flexor, front of the thigh, but we're also strengthening the back of the body at the same time. So when you're ready, we'll do a couple more on each side. Lifting on the exhale, hold. And release on an inhale. Just for a few breaths on each side. Keep the head centered. You can either have the forehead down or the chin forwards. Keep breathing. And release if you want one more on each side. Breathing, engaging the back of the body, releasing down on the inhale. Projecting really strongly through the leg and release down. So this is the scorpion pose. We'll just take a rest now. I want you to release the hands away from the body and place the palms down. So the second version in some ways is more intensive, but you can emphasize gently pressing the pubic bone down and lifting one leg at a time. So we'll try again. This time without the aid of the hands, although you could, grounding the palms will help you to lift, to keep the upper body stable and will help you to lift the legs. So when you're ready, on an exhale, gently press through one leg and up. The opposite leg is grounding. And we breathe there, keeping the palms gently engaged towards the floor. Lift and hold. And release. You're going to be taking short breaths for sure. The pubic bone down as you exhale. Lift the opposite leg. Sense of sinking the front of the pelvis, even though you're lifting your leg. So inevitably, the front of the pelvis lifts a little bit, but try to sink the front of the pelvis. Exhale, release down. Or inhale, release down. One more time on each side. So it's going to be the last, as it were, toning pose, strengthening pose. Exhale, lifting. So it helps to press the opposite foot towards the floor and then use that resistance to lift. Keeping the arms long. Try different head positions. So maybe better to have the forehead down. And release from there. We're going to move back through all fours and rest into child's pose. So it's a fairly thorough workout for the back of the body. We're really focusing in on the lower back area. So we're now going to move into a quieter part of the practice, which is going to emphasize lengthening out. So I'd like you to come up, first of all, to sitting, and just bring your feet in front of you into a diamond shape. So the feet, soles of the feet together, you're making quite a big diamond shape here. You can move the buttock flesh back. You can sit on a brick, as you know, with this pose, but the emphasis here is one of lengthening up rather than coming forwards, okay? So I'd like you to bring your hands behind the line of the sitting bones, slightly behind, and then really emphasize just grounding the fingertips, lifting the spine, lifting the chest, lengthening through the spine, and very slightly inclining your weight forwards, a sense of actively lifting up, but also moving forwards, but not collapsing forwards. Okay, so it's a variation of diamond pose or Baddha Konasana. Sense of gently lifting up through the spine, just having the effect of lengthening out the muscles in the back of the body at the same time as engaging them. Allowing the inner legs to release. We're going to hold this pose a little bit longer. You can allow the head to slightly tip forwards, close the eyes. Connecting with the breath, we can connect with the Mula Bandha in-breath here. So as you exhale, grounding the breath towards the lower body. As you inhale, lengthening the breath up through the anterior face of the spine, lifting and broadening across the chest, across the collarbones. See if you can really tune in and connect in with Mula Bandha in-breath. Again, just clarifying, lengthening through the spine. Sliding the shoulders away from you. And on your next inhale, we're going to open the eyes, gently come back up towards the vertical. You can release the legs forwards now. And this is a similar pose. This is a bit quirky, okay? So we're used to really trying to come forwards in these. So I want you to, as in flex forward. So what we're going to try and do is not do that and emphasize lengthening up. So again, you can try and bring the buttock flesh back a little bit. Bring the hands slightly behind the line of your sitting bones. And then projecting through the legs and lifting up. It's a sense of lifting up. You can even take your gaze towards the horizon, sliding the shoulder blades down the back. Lifting up here, emphasizing long, active legs. Same time as lifting up through the spine. So it's not quite a yin pose. It's moving in that direction, but it's more active than a yin pose. It's a sort of remedial pose. We could describe it as a remedial pose. So we're not coming into full flexion, but we're emphasizing lengthening up, gently lengthening through the axis. Won't necessarily feel that comfortable, but it should feel like a relief afterwards, a sense of lengthening out the muscles in the back of the body. So resisting the urge to collapse forwards. And then from there, releasing. Again, we're going to take the left knee or the right knee, it's up to you, out to the side now. So with Sue, it will be a case of extending the leg out, keeping the leg straight. I want you to turn towards the forward leg. So turn towards what would be the straight leg. And emphasize lengthening up now. Reach up through the opposite hand. And again, we're not going to come strongly forward. So just bring your hand down, keeping a sense of long through the spine, maybe slightly forwards of the knee. What other hand on top? And then emphasize lengthening up. And there's a sense of moving forwards without collapsing forwards. So you're lifting up, sense of moving forward. So we're projecting through the straight leg, or in Sue's case, both legs if they're straight. Gently turning towards the forward leg, a variation of Janu Shishasana, which is normally done as a folding forwards. Janu is knee, Shisha is head, so the idea is to bring the head to the knee, but we're staying very much away from that, emphasizing lengthening up through the spine and lengthening forwards. So we're not going for a flexion here. Breathing again down through the body. If you can, connecting with Mula Bandha inhale, so gently with the exhale, engaging the area below the navel. With the inhale, lengthening the breath up. So the breath can be quite a focus for this practice. If you want to intensify the practice, exhaling Mula Bandha, inhale, lengthening up. Looking for a sense of also releasing upwards, shoulder blades down, away from the ears, broad across the chest. And then float back up to center, releasing out. There's not a lot going on to see, but it should, internally, it probably feels quite rich. Okay, we're going to extend the other leg forwards, depending on your knee. So you might be just taking the leg out to the side. If you can, fold the leg. I'd like you to emphasize lengthening up. So take maybe both arms up. And then we're going to bring one hand down, just forwards of the knee. So a very slight movement forwards. Emphasize lengthening up, firstly. Other hand comes on top, lengthening up and projecting down through the leg. Lifting up through the spine. And breathing there, connecting in if you can, closing the eyes, connecting in with Mula Bandha, in breath. Mula Bandha, inhale. Shoulder blades down, away from the ears, broad across the upper back. Not a dramatic pose externally, but you're going to be feeling that you're working your leg, your thigh. Resisting the urge to collapse forwards, emphasizing lengthening up. Softening your face, your eyes. Releasing the shoulders. And release back up to center, releasing out of that. So it's going to be helpful for the next pose to have some wall here. and a little bit of padding. So I said don't you don't really need any equipment, but if you've got a bolster or a blanket or something, we've done this before. We need to bring your bolster near to the wall. I've got it about a palm away from the wall. So I'll just show you where we're going to go. I'm going to sit up. So you might need to move to a different part of your room. You're going to sit up onto the support and then roll round. So your legs go up the wall and you shuffle in. So the pelvis is supported. Yeah. And your legs are up the wall here. If you can, you bring the backs of the legs into the wall and can rest the arms above the head or onto the sides. Coming into Viparita Karani. So we're going to be here for a while. Really softening the small of the back. So softening the muscles in the lower back area. And the support is just going underneath the the pelvic crest. So it's just going underneath, yeah, the iliac crest, the back of the pelvis. So I'll just let you set that up. And you want to be in a position where you can really rest the legs into the wall. Okay. So we've just gently moved through, well, we're fairly swiftly, we've moved through the low back sequence, which is really designed to strengthen, mobilize the lower section of the spine. So, but we're now coming into a resting position with the legs higher than the heart. So you've got this benefit of the venal, passive gravity-fed venal flow back to the heart. So allow you to now release your breathing. So we can let go of the Mula Bandha inhale, just come into a free breath, a natural breath. Releasing your neck, releasing the connection between the head and the neck around the occipital area. Releasing your shoulders, releasing your upper arms. Releasing the backs of the legs towards the wall. Even softening the feet, the knees, the calves, thighs. Softening the belly. And then when you're ready, you're going to let your knees drop down so your feet come onto the wall. Your knees drop down, and then to come out, one way to come out is to push away from the wall, or you could roll. Just be aware that you're on some support. So you roll down. And we're going to move from there then into Shavasana. Okay, so if you want to put some more layers on, that's fine. So if you've got a bolster, bring that now behind the back of the knees. And maybe some support for the back of the head. If you've got it at hand, can be helpful. resting down, remembering to lay down in a straight line, broaden the upper back, lengthen the waist. Coming into a full resting position for the last few moments of the session. So these practices, these remedial yoga sequence practices that we developed for the 500-hour certificate, they're very focused on different sections of the body, right? So this is particularly focusing on like pelvis, upper legs, lower back. That's the main area of focus, right? In terms of the lower spine. Although inevitably you work other parts of the body when you do yoga. So they can be quite interesting to do over a period of days. If you just like 2 or 3 visits, just see what effect it has on your body. If any of the poses feel too challenging, then you could skip them or simplify them. So I like to rest here now into Shavasana, the backs of the hands on the floor or resting the hands onto the body, whichever's comfortable for you. Releasing the legs completely from the hip joint. Softening the thighs. And letting the body breathe freely now, completely freely. Releasing the back of the body in contact with the floor, back of the pelvis, back ribs, back of the head. And from awareness of the body, expanding your awareness into the breath. Expanding awareness into a sense of your mood, your heart, chitta, heart, mind, sense of your mood. So hopefully the yoga practice is cultivating a gentle awake or gentle wakefulness, at the same time at ease, restful, tranquil. I'd like you to expand your awareness into the space that you're in, so the room or the space that you're in, sense of the sounds around the room. Or if you're outside, you're aware of the space around you, the sounds. And then when you're ready, just bringing this practice to a close in your own time. No rush. Remembering before you come up to sitting, it's recommended to move a bit the fingers and toes and rest onto the right side of the body before you come up. So coming up slowly, if that's the case. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Have a good week, and I do recommend trying and practice a couple more times.